Hello, and welcome to the Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. I have an amazing guest today, Scott Aaron, who's here to talk about leveraging your motherhood to build a strong personal brand on LinkedIn. Of course, this applies to fathers too, so we'll be touching upon both elements. Scott, let's dive right in. Tell us about what you do with LinkedIn and tell us about your life as a father.
Yeah, so I'll start with the most important thing, which is my life as a father. It's been one of the greatest gifts that's ever been given to me. My son constantly teaches me, new things about staying young and being a kid and having fun and goofing around. And it's also given me a clearer path of the life that I want to create. So I come from an entrepreneurial background family. So my father was always present in my life. He was my coach in baseball, my coach in basketball, took me to every practice, came to every game that he was not coaching. So, I saw inherently the power of being your own boss when you can have your own hours and have your own time. And I started being my own boss at 18 and haven't looked back since. And, when I became a father, that really became full circle because I wanted to be that dad that was my son's coach, which I am now. I coached his little league team last year. I'm at every soccer game, travel or local. I'm at every sporting event because I have that flexibility. I can take him to a practice at at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. I can pick him up from school. I can drop him off. So for me, being a father is not just being a great parent. It's being a very present parent and not being distracted by work and not living just to work, living just to live. And what I do professionally allows me to do that. My wife and I, we have our own marketing company. It's called the BYOB Agency, and we have multiple products underneath that. One being my LinkedIn coaching, where I work with coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, individuals of how they can leverage LinkedIn to build their business brand and eventually their bank account. And we also have some virtual programs. We have a 12-month mastermind. Nancy has her own one-on-one coaching. We have our own posting platform and an academy. So we have a lot of wonderful things going on that truly solve the problems that people have and are still dealing with within business. And we want to provide solutions for that. I think you're muted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So parenthood does, as you mentioned, it really changes who we are professionally and personally. It changes our values and priorities. And it sounds like you've had focus for a really long time, right? You've really been focused on what you want to achieve. And although most of the women who work in our circles are not entrepreneurs, we apply a lot of principles of being a CEO to your personal life and building the life that you want and being present for your kids. So many of them are professionals in very competitive STEM fields. Often they're the only woman in the room. And I'd love to talk with you about how they can, 3 things they can do today to use the skills they've gained as a mother to build a strong brand on LinkedIn. Because even if you work for somebody else, you're still selling yourself. You're still selling your skills. You have to show your value to the next, to your next client, to your next boss, or perhaps you're growing higher in business and you need to bring in business. So a strong personal brand is such a must. And LinkedIn is the place to be if you're a professional, right? Like you have so much clarity in your training and in your messaging. It's very clear when you come to you what you do, and you give such good, actionable, clear tips. So how can people who are not entrepreneurs but want to use the entrepreneurial mindset do things on LinkedIn that will help them propel them to that next level of income, next level of power, of influence?
Well, first I'll say this. It doesn't really matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, whether you own your own business or not. The one thing that I want to always stress to that mother, that father, that parent, that business professional, you kind of want to you want to think about what kind of life you want to live. And the one thing that my wife and I constantly focus on is our work-life balance. So many people are just working, competing, coming home and working again. They never shut it off. And I think that the big reality check for me was, I would say, it's when I actually sat down and I added up the amount of hours I was working a week compared to the amount of hours that I was living per week. And living, I mean awake, not sleeping. Because when you're sleeping, you're not actually seeing what's going on. You're dreaming at that point. And it was scary because the old me, worked about 70 hours a week, and I would sleep about 6 hours a night, which only left about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day where I was actually living. Yeah. And I said, this is not why I was created. This is not why I was put on this planet, to just work and earn income and sleep and then do it all over again the next day. So I made it a goal of my own to have 6 months off a year, not working. So for me, that actually started with not working on the weekends anymore, not doing any business on the weekends. So that became, once Friday at 5 o'clock hit, I didn't pick up anything until Monday morning at 10 a.m. So that started, 2 days a week of not working. That's 8 days a month. Now you're looking at 96 days a year. So now I'm already at 3 months a year not working. Now, when the pandemic hit, my son was first full remote, and then he went to hybrid. But Wednesdays, he was here with my wife and myself, remote learning. So Wednesdays, I couldn't do any work because we were teaching him. So I started to take off Wednesdays. So that was another extra day a week. So that's another 52 days. So now I'm at around 150 days, which I'm approaching now about 5 months off. So I was on the brink. Now, once he went back to school, I had already created a routine around not working on Wednesdays. I wasn't about to reinstate working on Wednesdays, so I kept it off. So now I'm only working 4 days a week. Then on Fridays, he was also remote for a little while. So I was taking off on Fridays. And again, I instituted the same thing. So now, fast forward to today, I only work Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So I'm actually off 4 days a week, which is 20 days a month. And if you compound that over a year, that's 260 days a year that I am now off. And the crazy thing is, the less I've worked, the more income our company has actually made because I'm more focused, I'm more clear. So my whole point of that is for that busy professional that's watching this or listening to this, the first key to really becoming successful in building your personal brand and becoming visible is creating boundaries around your life. So many people end up giving up everything. They're like living their life like this all the time, whether it's a Instagram story or a Facebook Live. I have such clear-cut boundaries around my life that I know exactly what I'm doing. No one impedes those boundaries. Nancy and I don't start work until 10. We cut off work at 6, and that is it. Nothing comes before that. Nothing happens after that. It's just us. And why LinkedIn really feeds into this is because it's a platform that, yes, you do have to be visible on a daily basis, but it's not like a Facebook or an Instagram where you have to show this life that I call the reality TV show of Instagram, where I think everyone knows at this point that Instagram is not real. It's completely fake. People are, sold on the ideal of what the perfect life is, where everyone has their own conceptual view of what perfection is to them because perfection doesn't exist. It's what makes you most happy. But also something like Facebook where you feel like you have to post 3-4 times a day. that business professional. All you have to do is show up once a day on LinkedIn, providing educational and informative content based around the industry that you're a part of, your zone of genius, and something that people can latch onto, put into action, where you're actually pouring into them without expecting anything back in return. The second thing is really utilizing the network that you may currently have or the one that you want to build. So think about where your life in business is right now. What's missing from it? What do you wish there was more of? More networking opportunities, maybe more collaborative type of opportunities, connecting with more of the right individuals. So something that I always talk about is making your LinkedIn network as viable and as profitable as possible. Now, your net worth is always in direct correlation to your network. So if you're
okay, let's repeat that.
So your network is always in direct correlation to your net worth. So if your net worth, you're not really happy with that, you should take a deeper look at your network, because that's a direct reflection correlation to each other. They go hand in hand. So with everything that Nancy and I have built with our company, it's completely related to the value of the network that we've been building over the last 4 years. And I'll repeat that, 4 years, not 4 days, not 4 weeks, not 4 months. Everyone thinks that building this great brand online is this lottery ticket. I'm just going to show up, I'm going to create a piece of content, and everyone's going to be dropping from the sky into my lap. It doesn't work that way. But you have to think about two types of connections. And this is something that I train on all the time, whether it's a large financial firm or an individual. You need to think about two types of connections. Number one is your ideal client. So that could be a new employee that you want to onboard, a new part of someone on your team. It could be that end result client or customer that you are looking to acquire for the company that you're working with. Like, who is that person? What do they do? What profession are they in? And how can you connect with them? And you got to have clarity on this. Yeah. Clear action creates clear results. So it's all about clarity. If you're not clear on anything that you're doing, how can you expect to get actionable and clear results? The second type of connection is what I call a power partner. And power partners are actually more important than your ideal client, because that power partner is that person that can introduce you to that ideal client. So for me, I always double and triple down on those power partners where I can get introductions, I can network with people, I'm doing summits all the time. You should never sit back and wait for people to reach out to you. That's like sitting at a bus stop where there is no bus on that route anymore. You're literally sitting on that bench for the rest of your life, just watching all the cars whiz by, and you're like, why is no one stopping to pick me up? Well, there's no bus on that route. You actually have to take action. You have to put your hand out to reach out to someone. Now, the third and most important thing is going back to something I said in step number 2, which is really gaining clarity on that ideal client and that power partner. Now, the third thing is getting complete clarity on what you want. Now, what do I mean by this? So something that Nancy and I always talk about, and we actually just did this 2 nights ago. And she said to me, she goes, where do you want our company to be in 3 to 5 years? What do you want to have happened in the next 3 to 5 years? So we started kind of envisioning and goal setting where we want things to be 3 to 5 years from now. So again, whether you own your own business, you work for someone else, you still need to gain clarity on where you're going. The scariest place to be is on a path where you don't know where you want to end up. And I call that the Groundhog's Day effect. So if anyone has seen Groundhog's Day, you're literally reliving the same day over and over again. Nothing is changing because you don't have clarity on what you actually want to change. So an exercise that Nancy and I always do with each other and what we do with our clients is really sitting down and getting clarity and writing down. You get a piece of paper, you split it into 2, you draw a line down the middle. On the left side, you write down all the things that you would like to improve in your life personally and professionally. On the right side of that piece of paper, you write down what would happen if you gained clarity or found a solution for those things that you are not happy with in your life and business. And then you start to kind of see what can transpire for you in your life moving forward. A lot of this can be done with LinkedIn, not so much the vision casting, but where you want to go in your life and your career. No one wakes up and says, I want to live a pretty mediocre life. Everybody wakes up wanting to live a empowered, motivating, and inspired life. So you need to really look inside of yourself. I can give you all the tools and tips that you need to succeed on LinkedIn, but it's really about you turning the mirror around and asking yourself the question, what do I actually want out of life and out of business? And when you can gain that clarity of what you do want out of life and business, then you can start to put together the foundation and the infrastructure of not only how you need to show up on social media, but what steps need to be taken to achieve those goals to live that ideal life.
So much gold there. So much gold. I love it. I have tons of vision boards and principles around me of what I want to create. And I want to dive into the challenges that people face when they struggle with establishing a vision. So I work with different people, and I have a very specific exercise for moms where we do it fast and embrace imperfect action. And, they couldn't do it for years and now they have a vision. But some people really struggle to define what it is that they want, right? And so where do you get started if you have such a hard time connecting? And for moms particularly, when you're so used to serving the needs of others and you're disconnected from your own desires, you can come to a point where I don't even know what I want. And so what kind of questions do you ask people to get unstuck on that level?
I think it comes down to really just finding some quiet time and sitting with one's own self. And what I find is that most people don't take the time to actually sit down by themselves with no distractions, no kids running around, no husband or wife around, just themselves. And that could be just going out and walking in nature. It could be walking around your cul-de-sac or your neighborhood and just putting some headphones on and listening to a podcast or an audio book. But for me, I really feel that it starts with just putting pen to paper. Yes. And people would be amazed, and I know this may sound like airy-fairy to people, but, really starting to journal things that you want in your life, speaking things into existence. I can't tell you, we have vision boards, I have whiteboards all over my office.
Yeah.
And because you have to have a focus of what you want to achieve. And we always put goals down. Anytime we do a business launch or, we have a specific monetary goal for a month, we actually put that down so we can actually see it, visualize it, make it, embed it in our brains and bring it to be a part of our daily, everyday life leading up to that specific point. And I feel that people just aren't taking the time and putting pen to paper. And in all honesty, if you just went onto Amazon and you ordered a journal and you took one of your kids' pens or pencils and you actually just sat down and you started just writing, just journaling, just actually getting some things out from your day, what great things happened for me today? What goals do I have upcoming? And again, you can hire a coach for this, but anyone can do it themselves. You will be amazed at the creative juices that start to flow out of your head into your heart and through your hand onto that piece of paper. And you're just not taking the time. I always tell people we always make time for the things that are most important to us. So if your future, if your passions, if your life is that important to you, you will make time for the things that will start to allow you to live in more alignment to achieve those things that you would like for your life and your business.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In fact, right next to me, right here, I have this old folder. I always tell people, if you have time to watch Netflix and scroll on Instagram, you have time to do this work. And so this is an old folder I have from about 7 years ago. I don't even know where I grabbed it, but I divided my goals into 4 areas: financial, spiritual, love, relationships. And everything that I've written down, it took me 10 minutes. It's so scrappy. I took a Sharpie. It came to life. Right? And so anybody can do this. Anybody watches Netflix today. Anybody scrolls on Instagram or on Facebook. It's about channeling that energy elsewhere. The nuggets that you mentioned today, your net worth is directly related to your network. Very strong. I think if anybody takes the advice today in terms of really knowing what you want and then being clear and getting out there on a platform like LinkedIn, whether it's for your next job or even if it's for a volunteering opportunity, like expanding your mind, whatever it is that will take you to the next level, that clarity and that consistency is huge. Why, Scott, why LinkedIn? Like, how long did it take you to learn the platform and choose it? You mentioned Facebook and Instagram, that they're not real life, but I bet it didn't happen overnight, this infatuation with LinkedIn. It's probably something that you chose over time. So tell us more about that as we wrap up today.
Yeah, it's compounded. So I started doing online marketing about 8.5 years ago, almost 9 years ago, growing an online wellness business that I had. And yeah, I was picking up clients, but the quality of clientele that I was picking up and connecting with on Facebook and Instagram wasn't my ideal target market.
Yep.
I was looking to deal with a more professional, business-minded client. And I said, well, where can I go find those types of people? And I remember having a LinkedIn profile that I started back in 2009. It was just collecting dust since then. And, I couldn't make any more leverageable movement in my business if I didn't start talking to more people. I coincidentally was reading a book called Go for No by Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton. Andrea has since become a good friend of mine. She was on my podcast. We talk about once a quarter, just checking in and seeing what's going on. And, on the cover of that book, it says, yes is the destination, but no is how you're going to get there. And I just remember, well, I'm not getting enough no's. I'm getting yeses, but I need to be getting more yeses, so I need to get more no's. And where can I go where I can have that ability to have those conversations to get to that number? And that's when LinkedIn became that pivotal piece and that part of my business that changed everything. And I got on there and I started thinking about just what I said earlier, my power partner, my ideal client. Started searching and connecting and messaging, and I started getting traction within a few weeks. And I'm like, it can't be this easy. But it was. And I actually started working with one of my buddies that was in a similar space as me. And 2 weeks after I taught him what I was doing, and this was just I had no programs, I had nothing. I was just showing him. He texted me and he said, you got to call me. So I called him. I said, what's up? And he goes, dude, listen, whatever you figured out, it really works. He goes, I have 14 appointments booked this week. He goes, you should be teaching this. And I realized, I'm like, you know what? There's a need because most people don't know how to use LinkedIn. They still don't nearly 8 years later. They don't have enough leads or conversations. So, okay, let me create a course. So I downloaded something called Zoom back in 2014 when no one knew what Zoom was. And I started recording myself, which I didn't know you could do, but you could share your screen. So I was sitting in my kitchen and didn't really know where the camera should be angled. So I was like looking down at my computer. It was completely, patchwork quilted, but it worked. And I went on a podcast about 6 months into my traction of getting results on LinkedIn. And I started going over, all these specific facts. And these facts are still true today. The 3 big reasons of why I started going all in with LinkedIn was 3 specific reasons: age demographic, monetary income, and the size of the network that you can grow. Facebook and Instagram, the average age is 18 to 29. It's not my demographic. That's not my ideal client. You're only allowed 5,000 friends on Facebook, and we all know they're not our friends. No one has the space to have 5,000 quality relationships. We have like maybe 50 to 100 really good friends. And Instagram has the highest rate of fake accounts to real accounts on all of social media. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean it's all robots, it's all automated. There's very few actually real people on Instagram. There's a lot that are real, but there's a lot that aren't, and you can tell who is and who isn't. Now, Facebook is the barbecue of social media. That's where people go to hang out, and Instagram, as I said before, is the reality TV show of social media. It's the Bravo TV. If you want to go look at a dream life of what things should be, you're going to hang out on Instagram. If you're going to want to kind of just see what's going on in people's lives and commiserate, you're going to hang out on Facebook. But when I looked at LinkedIn, where the average age is 30 to 55, which is my target demographic, where the average income that someone makes on Instagram and Facebook is $30,000 a year or less, compared to that of LinkedIn, which is $100,000 a year or more, and you're allowed 30,000 organic connections on LinkedIn, it just made sense. This is where I need to start spending my time. So I started digging in. I started doing all my research, reading blog after blog, article after article, staying on top of all the trends and all the new things, so I can then report it back, getting results not only for myself, but Nancy and I have helped our clients cumulatively multiple millions of dollars over the last 4 years alone of clients that we've worked with. And it's just been one of those game-changing things that everyone is still focused on the vanity metrics of social media like Facebook and Instagram, instead of focusing on the most important aspect of building a business or brand. And that is the connections organically that you can create with other people. Human connection is the number one building block that we all have that people are not using enough. I've doubled and tripled down on that, and that is exactly how our business has grown.
Amazing. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners today? Again, if people listen to this conversation many times and got clarity on what they want as a parent, and I mean, that's what we specialize in doing, right? In both your personal and professional life, and then went out there and leveraged a powerful network like LinkedIn, you could make huge leaps, both personally and professionally. That's what I'm gathering from our conversation. Like if I'm going to boil it down to the mom who maybe has the baby on the boob right now is thinking what's going to happen to my career, you're going to survive this phase, I promise. I have 2 boys, they're 2 and 4, and we figured it out, and my career is doing better than ever. But you have to figure out what you want. If you focus on everybody else's needs and you put yourself last on the list, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get the last results, if any at all, right?
I couldn't have said it any better myself. You do need to put yourself first if you're going to be able to take care of everyone else. And I think it's really gaining that clarity. I invite everybody to go onto LinkedIn just to poke around, see what's doing on the platform. Check out my profile. If people go to my website, scottaaron.net, there's a free download that you can have to start optimizing your profile, which is the first step to really leveraging LinkedIn the right way. We actually have a free Facebook community called LinkedIn Leads for Life. You can just type in LinkedIn Leads for Life on Facebook. Our group will come up. You can join. And it's not just for entrepreneurs. It's for business professionals. Nancy and I work with a ton of business professionals, helping them gain clarity and show up on social media the right way, getting more visibility to where they can create that dream business and personal life the way that they want to. The other big thing that I would like to finish with is when you change nothing, nothing will change. But if you do change something, something will change. So I really want you to sit with that and really think about, are you 100% happy with your life right now? And if you're not, figure out where the kink in that hose is and what you can do to untangle it. Focus on it. And again, there's a solution to every problem. As Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable. So the fact is that, you're not the only one that may be going through what you're going through right now. Reach out for help. That's not a bad thing to ask someone for help through a certain situation. One of the worst things that you can do is not reach out for help, because again, you're going to stuff those feelings, you're going to keep pushing that thing down, and whatever it is, it's going to reform into something else bigger and maybe worse off than things are right now. So nip it in the bud as quickly as you can, so you can move forward in a more positive and fluid way as quickly as you can.
Absolutely. Love it, Scott. That was going to be my next question. Where can people find you and get more of you? But you're on top of the game all the time, and you shared all of that. So thank you so much for your time. This will be available in our community as a podcast on YouTube. So people will be able to find this widely and share and learn. I really encourage everyone to re-listen to this conversation. For me, the nugget, your network is directly correlated to your net worth. It was quite the nugget. It really made me think, who do you want to be? Who do you want to expose yourself with? And we don't even have to think about net worth just in terms of monetary value, but what kind of experiences you want to have in life, right? And are you surrounding yourself with people who have the values and who have the goals that will help you live the life that will make you happy, right? Yeah. So just that one sentence is such gold. Thank you so much, Scott. I'll see you backstage.
Absolutely.